Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am beyond excited for today's guest. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
Hi, Calvin. My name is Joe Shuster, and along with my best friend Jerry Siegel, I am the co-creator of a character who I think most of your listeners will recognize, Superman.
A legend. Truly the blueprint for every hero that followed. Let's go back to the beginning, Joe. When and where were you born?
I was born on July 10th, 1914, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And what was your given name at birth?
It was Joseph Shuster. Pretty straightforward.
Was there a story behind your birth name?
Not a grand one, but I was born into a Jewish family of immigrants. My father, Julius, was from the Netherlands, and my mother, Ida, was from Ukraine. They just wanted a good, strong name for their son as they started their new life in North America.
What was your hometown like growing up?
Toronto was a bustling city. I remember the cold winters and the excitement of the newspaper stands. When I was about 9 or 10, we moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland was where my life really changed, because that's where I met Jerry.
Tell us about that. What was your family life like?
We didn't have much money. My father was a tailor, but he struggled to keep his shop going during those lean years. We were a close-knit family, though. We lived in a small apartment, and I spent a lot of time drawing on whatever scraps of paper I could find because we couldn't afford real drawing pads.
What kind of kid were you?
I was a bit of a dreamer and very shy. I was also very nearsighted, which meant I had to have my face right up against the paper to see what I was drawing. I wasn't the biggest or strongest kid, which I think is why the idea of a Superman appealed to me so much.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
Mostly the fear of not being able to provide or succeed. Seeing my father struggle with his business weighed on me. I also worried about my eyesight. I was so dependent on it for my art.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
I always knew I wanted to be an artist. I loved the quote-unquote funny papers in the newspapers. I dreamed of having my own comic strip that people all over the country would read every morning.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Drawing for the school newspaper? Definitely. At Glenville High School, I worked on the paper with Jerry. He would write these fantastic stories, and I would bring them to life with my pen. That was my favorite part of the day.
What was your first job?
I worked as a paper boy for the Toronto Daily Star and later for the Cleveland papers. It's funny, I think that's why Clark Kent became a journalist. The newspaper world was the only professional world I really knew as a kid.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I don't know if I felt different so much as I felt I had a specific purpose once I met Jerry. We clicked instantly. While other kids were out playing sports, we were in a room dreaming up worlds. We were different in our obsession with storytelling.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Probably the day Jerry and I decided to take a character we had originally imagined as a villain and turn him into a hero. That hero became the Superman you know today. At the time, we were just trying to sell a story to make a few dollars.
What was your biggest break?
It took years of rejection. But the big break was when Detective Comics, which became DC, decided to put Superman in the first issue of Action Comics in 1938. Seeing that first cover with the man lifting the car, that changed our lives forever.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
Oh, the rejection was tough. We pitched Superman for years, and everyone told us it was too fantastic or that no one would care about a man in a cape. We were living on very little, often just hoping for a few dollars for a short story.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Many times. But Jerry wouldn't let me, and I wouldn't let him. We believed in the character. We felt Superman had a soul that people needed to see.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
Drawing every single day. Even when we had no work, I was at the board. I also used to look at bodybuilder magazines to study anatomy. That's how I figured out how to draw Superman's muscles.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I probably would have stayed in the newspaper business, maybe as a layout artist or a simple illustrator for advertisements. I just had to be near ink and paper.
What was your life like before fame?
It was quiet and focused. We were just two kids from Cleveland with big imaginations. We spent a lot of time in libraries and at newsstands.
How did relationships change after success?
It became complicated. When you create something that becomes a global phenomenon, business starts to get in the way of the art. Jerry and I stayed close, but our relationship with the publishers became very strained over the rights to our Man of Steel.
Did fame bring happiness?
It brought a sense of accomplishment, but it also brought a lot of stress. I was happy that the world loved Superman, but it was hard when we felt we were being left behind by the industry we helped build.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
For me, it wasn't even being famous. I was mostly anonymous. The downside was the legal battles. We spent decades fighting for recognition and a share of the profits for the character we created.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
People often thought that because Superman was so successful, Jerry and I must be millionaires living in mansions. For a long time, that couldn't have been further from the truth.
What was your darkest moment?
In the late 1940s and 50s, when my eyesight started to fail significantly and I couldn't draw professionally anymore. For an artist, losing your sight is like losing your soul.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I think my biggest regret was signing away the rights to Superman for just $130 in the beginning. We were young and just wanted to see him in print, but we didn't realize what he would become.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People didn't realize how much of my own physical limitations went into Clark Kent. The glasses, the mild-mannered nature, that was very much who I was.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong, and how did you handle it?
There was a period when I was working as a delivery man just to make ends meet, long after Superman was a household name. It was humbling, but I handled it by remembering that I had still given the world something special. I kept my head up.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
Eventually, in the 1970s, we finally received some recognition and a pension. It changed my life by allowing me to live my final years with dignity and security, which I am very grateful for.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
Jerry Siegel, without a doubt. He was the brother I chose. And my mother, who always encouraged my art even when we couldn't afford paper.
What was life like in your final years?
I lived in West Los Angeles. I was nearly blind, but I was content. I was finally being recognized by the fans at comic conventions, and that meant more to me than the money.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I wasn't able to draw much, but I spent my time talking to historians and fans, making sure the true story of how Superman was created was preserved.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on July 30th, 1992, in West Los Angeles, California.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I used to work out with heavy weights to understand how a strong man moves. I wanted Superman's poses to look authentic.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Some people thought I wasn't even real for a while, that Joe Shuster was just a pen name for a corporate artist. I assure you, I was very real.
What was your most unique habit?
I would often talk to myself while drawing, acting out the dialogue Jerry had written to see if the facial expressions I was sketching matched the mood.
What was your favorite food?
I loved a good, simple deli sandwich. Nothing fancy.
What was your favorite book?
I loved the adventure stories of Edgar Rice Burroughs, especially John Carter of Mars. You can see a lot of that influence in Superman's origins.
Did you have any known rivalries?
Not personal ones, but Jerry and I were always trying to outdo the other comic strips of the time. We wanted to be the best.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
When we were first starting out, I was so poor that I once drew an entire comic on the back of wallpaper scraps because I had run out of paper. It didn't matter what the surface was, the story had to come out.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Never stop believing in your ideas, even when everyone tells you they are impossible. And find a partner who believes in them as much as you do.
Joe, this has been an absolute honor. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
I just want to say thank you for remembering me. It warms my heart to know that people still care about the boy from Cleveland who just wanted to draw. Superman was always about hope, and I hope my story gives a little of that to you today. Thank you for having me, Calvin.
Thank you so much, Joe. What an incredible look at the man behind the cape. We've learned about the struggles, the friendship with Jerry, and the humble beginnings of the world's first superhero. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.